Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Mindful Health Podcast. I am your host, as always, Dr. Jordan Cardoza, physical therapist. Today, I'm going to tell you how to warm up fast, or more specifically, kind of how I warm up quickly and how I warm up in general for all my warm ups. So, one thing to look at, or first thing off, don't make it too complicated. It's very simple, right? Don't overthink it as far as what you should be incorporating, anything like that. We're also going to separate it into two different categories of people. The first category being those who meet the requirements of their basic needs or whatever they're working on. And the second one is those who do not meet those requirements. And what do I mean by meet those requirements? That's going to depend on what specifically you're doing. What is your activity that you're working on? So, for example, if it's squatting, right? Maybe you need proper ankle mobility, proper hip mobility, things like that to be able to achieve that position. If you're thinking like something like a sport like soccer, right, you're going to have the correct flexibility as far as maybe like hamstring length, things like that, as well as just good strength and coordination before you get into that sport. So we're going to first start off with those who kind of meet the requirements for their sport. They don't have drastically lacking range of motion. They're not having any pains or anything like that. They can just warm up and get straight to it. So for these people, what I recommend is starting with whatever activity you're doing and do it just at a much lower level. So for example, if 100% is full activity or max effort, you're going to start off maybe like 10% of something. So if it's just, say we're going to make two examples of this. We'll take a squat and then someone who's a sprinter. So for a squat, basically what I would do is I would just start off with maybe a few body weight squats, then use just the bar, do some of those, as well as then just increase the weight a little bit, do some more of those until you get to your first kind of working set, right? So that's going to prep your body. You're going to be conditioned well. You're going to be up at that level. You're going to slowly progress it. So your muscles should be warmed up and ready to go. That's kind of mainly what I would do for a warm up like that. And then as well, for something that's not aerobic or cardio, like a squat, what I would also recommend for those people, if you're doing something like that, which is not a cardio, not like a sport, I would also warm up cardio-wise just to get the whole body warmed up, get blood flowing throughout the body. If that's just a run, a quick warm-up on a bike, a rower machine, just something like that to get the full kind of body cardio system going. And that's what I would do for a squat. For soccer, you would just have to incorporate the different components of it, right? So maybe starting off with a jog, different side-to-side movements, slowly kicking a ball, right? Things like that. Just start out at a lower percent and then slowly build up, right? Increase your speed, increase the force of which you're striking the ball or passing the ball, increase the degree of change of movements, right? Your cuts, things like that, and just slowly build up until you're basically, before you're practicing or before you're playing, right, you're up to that game speed. You're at where you want to. You should be plenty with the cardio because you're going to start off with like running or jogging, things like that. So I wouldn't recommend doing any more just pure running or like a rower or bike or anything to get up to level with something like that. Like I said, now we have the second person who maybe they're just really tight all over. Maybe they have limited ankles for a squat. Maybe they have back pain, something like that. So we're going to talk about kind of how this person should warm up now. And basically what you're going to do is you're going to take the same information that I just gave about the first scenario, but now you're just going to add a little bit, maybe 15 to 20 minutes, depending on you, beforehand to kind of prep your body before you kind of get into that same warm-up that we described below. So if we look at two examples, a big limitation for the squat is ankle mobility. So for someone who knows that they have that limitation, maybe before they're doing a CrossFit workout or just squatting in general, you do some calf stretching, some ankle mobilizations, right? Get that ankle a little bit loosened up before you actually start to prep into your squat. And that'll help you improve your squat and just, make your squat better off. So that's something that you would do for someone who has those limitations. Another example would be like back pain. Maybe they're doing some sort of activity. Maybe it's just working out in the gym. But either way, let's just say they have back pain. This person may want to start off with some light stretching, right? Maybe they're loosening up their hamstrings a little bit, working on a little spinal motion, right? Maybe some cat-cows, just getting that mobility going, loosening up the body in general. Maybe they're going to work on some activation exercises with their core or their glutes, something like that. And then they can slowly start easing into it, same as we described above. So overall, right, there's no perfect or right way to warm up. This is just typically what I'll do is I start with the activity at a much lower level, starting from like 5 to 10%, working all the way up to that max effort, that 100% realm. Like I said, unless you have a deficit or something that you're working through, such as pain, target those issues, but just spend maybe 10 to 20 minutes max on those areas, being direct and being very specific, right? So if you have tight ankles, there's no really need to be doing all this hip stretching if your hips are fine. They're going to get warmed up as you go into the squat. But if you do have those limitations, right, target those, be very specific, take about 10 to 20 minutes, then go into the specific activity warm-up, which I described earlier. And that's going to be the basis for warm-ups for anyone, whether you have no limitations or you do have limitations based on the descriptions that we described above. Overall, that's what I would say to do for a warm-up. It's quick, it's easy. You don't spend a whole lot of time on it, which is great. And I think it warms you up plenty to get your body going and get ready for the workout. So overall, make sure you guys subscribe. Thank you again if you've hung on this long and been watching. I really appreciate any support you guys can give. So if you guys can share with a friend, subscribe, I really appreciate it. And we'll see you guys next time.